There we go. Okay.
Okay, so my name is Richard Castellata, and I'm interviewing,
Algie Mitchell.
and he is a part-time business owner, um, and so he is going to be my interviewee for my oral history assignment. So, question number one, Mr. Mitchell, take me back to the very start. What was happening in your life when you first decided to build a business around firearms training and self-defense?
It wasn't exactly just firearms training and self defense. It was just about getting something of my own. That was like in golly, the 90s. I was working for adult probation, doing a lot of things on my own and the scheduling, the hours and stuff like that. And I was handling firearms as a hobby and every now and then in the line of duty. And I knew then that I could market myself, using what I knew from the military and stuff like that for self defense and marksmanship training.
Okay. When you pictured this business in those early days, what did you hope it would become? And what fears did you carry with you?
Well, I hoped it would be something that would be, I mean, make me $1 million. And exactly, it's that funny. Because what you do is you get caught up in the big box ideas and you see these big gun shops and all these kind of things, so you get caught up in that mindset. And training really wasn't a thing, when I really got started. It was just about guns and selling firearms, which required your federal firearm license and stuff like that. Um, that's where the fears came in because I didn't want to just put guns out there and just sell guns to anybody. Or I just didn't. I was just afraid of that whole ATF thing. So I moved forward, but I was always a little leery of the, you know, potential repercussions of things happening because there were firearms.
So tell me about a moment you knew there was a real market for what you wanted to offer. What did you see, hear, or feel that convinced you?
Well, one thing is I'm from the city, and in the city, you don't walk around or see guns. Clearwater, Florida is where I was born and raised. Like even in the military background, people just didn't walk around with guns on their hips until I moved to Arizona. And when I moved to Arizona is when I got introduced to open carry. And everywhere I went, I saw firearms. I knew from my own habits that there was a market for this, you know. So I just knew over time that I wanted to actually get my FFL license and pursue it that route initially. And so, even though I was scared, but I didn't know about the training part yet, so
Wow.
I just knew that there was a market because this was United States and this is Arizona. It was just public. Guns were out there. So it was a good place to be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Question number four. Walk me through one of your hardest economic decisions you faced in the early years. What were you weighing, and where did you turn for guidance?
It's always been a struggle with location, location, location. I think you and I even talked about stuff like, you know, storefront, online business. The hardest economic decision for me was, do I go full fledged and sell the farm and just bank on just get a put everything I got into just one mindset, this gun shop. But I really wasn't sold on a gun shop because, like I said previously, I was afraid to just put guns out there. And what I was weighing is, do I go guns or something different? Again, the training mindset wasn't there. I just knew I didn't want to sell guns outright. So it just evolved over time. Actually, the pandemic, the COVID thing is helped it evolve into the training aspect that it ended up being, you know. But prior to that, it was just mostly about the guns and selling the firearms and stuff like that. And then it kind of evolved into the training after that.
So next question: when you set your prices for the first time, how did you arrive at those numbers? What did you look at, and what did you wish you would have known?
I wish I'd have known that. The first thing is I wish I would have known that I need more. You need volume in order to make money in any of these businesses, because you sell a gun, that's just one gun being sold. The prices, the price of a gun is what it is. You know, the manufacturers kind of set those prices, and then they even give you a suggested retail, and you really don't have a lot of buffer from that. You don't. You kind of are gonna sell within that parameter they provide you, and that's just kind of it. Because if you set the prices too high, your product won't move because other guns are gonna sell. So that's how we arrived at those numbers. And again, what I wish I had known is that it takes volume in order to increase your marketability and stuff like that. You got to be able to sell a lot of anything. You know, so.
Close the door, Luke. Describe how you came to understand who was your clients, or who your clients really are. How did that picture of your customer change over time, and has it shifted?
Okay, like I said, initially it was about the guns, not so much about the training. The customer became the people who wanted to carry but didn't know how to shoot, be safe, and all that kind of stuff. So that's how I came up with the M&M shooting systems. Is just teaching a mindset, you know, on how to handle a dangerous weapon and to handle it proficiently, safely, and confidently. So my target audience started to be like my daughter, her friends, all the girls. Most of the times it was ladies that didn't want to be trained by their husbands, you know, stuff like that, which I recommend. Don't let somebody else teach your wife, and then you take your training independently. You put your skills together. But that's how I came to understand my target audience was the people who were actively purchasing, because everybody has guns out here, but nobody knew how to really use them. So that's where my target audience became an audience, is helping people be proficient with their firearms and understanding the law and how that law protects us and how we operate within the parameters of the law. So the training started becoming more of the focus instead of the shooting so much.
Wow.
Training.
Wow. Looking back, what sources of information did you trust the most when making decisions? And were there moments when that trust let you down?
Looking back, what sources of information did I trust? Looking back, I was basically driving everything I did from my Marine Corps background. That wasn't all good, and it wasn't always information that was pertinent to what I was doing right then. Okay, so a lot of the decisions I was making was based on the military background and the mindset that the military gave me, and that's what let me down. Is because not everybody can get with that. Not everybody can be tactical Tommy. So now I know that the mindset can be trained on how to help people get more safe with their firearms and how to protect their families and stuff like that. So we didn't have a whole gamut of people out there. I mean, you, you had your IPSC, your target different organizations for shootings. You know, it wasn't as big as it is today, where you can just get into contact with somebody and say, hey, I'm working on this, that, or the other. So training, as that became part of the gun world, that became the big focus. You know, so it's not even about the guns per se. It's about how to be safe with the gun or being in that two-way environment all the time. Did that make sense?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Definitely. Next question. Tell me about a time when a piece of legislation or proposed gun law changed the way you ran your business. How did it feel to navigate that? Or did it?
You're always dealing with the law changes, bans on braces, bans on types of weapons, bans on rifles, and as an American, a lot of these bans come in after you've already spent your money on your stuff, you know, and then what happens is the legislation kept making it difficult to move forward with just a standard product. So, like, if you wanted to sell AR-15s with the AR pistols with braces, you could sell them until they were banned, and then you had all these banned rifles that you know, those types of things made it challenging because it made society second guess what they're doing. They want to know if they were law-abiding citizens or not. So, and that's always going on. Like, I think the current one is, do you or don't you need a tax stamp? Well, you do for suppressors or your NFA items. You do, you know, but you don't have to pay for it anymore. You know, so it's one of those deals where the law is constantly changing, you know, and some of it is not good for the 2A environment, you know, and so I can't think of one specific piece of legislation, but I do know that when they started looking at the ARs as assault rifles, that created a whole lot of problems in the gun industry because they're not really, that's not what AR means. You know, they are sporting rifles. They are basically just like anything. If you're dealing with someone that don't know the proper use of it, you're gonna misuse it. You know, so the thing about laws is they're most of the time reactive. They're making changes because of what's going on in society in that environment. The best thing to do is to know all your rights and the laws. That's how you navigate. You know, because it's like, well, okay, this law changed, but it might change back. You know, so what you tell people is just be patient. You know, don't get all uptight. Your vote matters. You know, things like that, because if you're not, I mean, by the time you're dealing, you can't fight the law. So what you got to do is use your rights, and all your constituents, you got to get together and make sure you're voting the right way. You know, stuff like that. That's going to help you circumvent and navigate any of these laws that are going to help your business or hurt your business. That's really all you can do, is educate and exercise your rights. That's what really the gun world is all about.
Yeah.
Is exercising your rights.
Definitely. So, were there a certain high-profile events over the years that put firearms in the national conversation? Describe how those moments rippled through your day-to-day work.
High-profile events. Yeah, guns get into Mexico. It's horrible. You know, you don't know how Well, I know how. It's called money. You know, the value that we spend for a Glock is 600. They'll spend 2 grand for that same Glock. People take risks and they're dumb. But that's what happens is when they start making it lucrative to break the law.
I guess also we're so close to the border.
We
too.
are. And so that's always a high profile issue out here. And it's also a high profile with the automatic, the giggle switches.
Yeah.
Yeah, those things are gonna always be high profile because they're NFA items, and for some reason society don't want the government to control anything, so the that it's suppresses this year. Next year it's assault rifles, braces, the immigrants from guns being imported into Mexico, stuff like that. Those are always high profile issues out here that are just not going away and probably won't go away. Even the answers on the federal form to get your they're changing it because they're trying to make sure that you're not buying guns to sell to illegals to be transported across the border.
Wow.
So that's gonna always be a problem.
So, next question. How did the broader public mood towards guns shape your way you talk about your services? Were there words or approaches that you chose to use or avoid?
It says, how did the broader public mood toward guns shape the way you talked about your services? It depends. It does. I mean, if you're in an environment where everybody's gung-ho about protecting that border, and or gung-ho about protecting themselves, or just gung-ho about their 2A rights, period. You almost have to be a chameleon about your conversation, as long as it's a healthy chameleon. You're not inciting riots, and stuff like that. What you're doing is you're talking about people exercising their rights in a healthy way.
Cool.
So I always want to talk about that being done in a healthy way, not in a insightful way where you're inciting the riot and getting people uptight over silly stuff.
Great.
So how did the broader move? So yeah, if society's got and it's an ebb and flow. Sometimes everybody's gung ho about guns, and then they're like, no, guns kill people. So the mood shifts. Depends on what's going on in society. You hear a whole lot of what is the phrase that irritates me? With the way things are nowadays, I need to arm myself. So my conversation always leads, because I took an oath against domestic and foreign terrorists. I always ask them, why do you feel you need to arm yourself? And so you have to be level-headed because of what you're doing, because some of the people you're dealing with might not be. So that's one way that help you get through your day-to-day work, is just knowing who you're dealing with. It's okay to ask why. Because if they want to buy a firearm, they can't. It might not be on the form, but if they act, so
A little out of it.
yeah. If you get a surge and you get an incident, and then all of a sudden everybody want to run to the gun stores, that alters how you do business. It should slow down your process.
Yeah.
So
Nice. Next question. Reflect on a political shift you've lived through as a business owner. What would you have to change, and what did you refuse to change?
like I told you about that ebb and flow of guns. One minute we love them, next minute
Try to
they're
ban them.
unsafe. Right, we want to ban everything. What's the funny joke I always say? Everybody complained about the Marines till till the war start. Like, call the Marines. Political shift that I've lived through as a business owner. 9/11, this country started to arm themselves. After that, we just didn't know where the threats were coming from. So people just started buying guns, which was weird, which also helped part two of the business, the training, because all these people were buying guns. You know, so what I had to change was I had to be more. I had to show society more grace, and not be incited by whatever was going on or whatever was going on with them. You know, I refuse, and you know me. I refuse to be ungodly in my approach. No matter what was going on, I always kept it about the Lord and the movement and making sure that people, no matter what was happening in the Democrat or Republican, I always brought it back to the Lord. You know, so I refuse to let the politics affect me either way. I didn't care what you did. I didn't. But I refuse to change my relationship with Jesus, and just kept that's what kept it moving. So whenever I was dealing with the political shifts and things like that, I just went back to my belief system of Christ, which kept me grounded and not in the middle of most of that stuff. Call me crazy, but it worked.
Oh yes.
You know, so one thing for sure, we're gonna have a political shift. It's gonna. That's why it's like one minute we love them, next minute we hate them. You know, I keep doing 6, 7. I don't know. We have to do that nowadays.
Yeah, exactly.
What I had to change was the grace part. I had to not. I would literally get upset with people and get upset. And, you know, I had to stop being like that because it was causing me more stress.
So next question. It says, describe how you found the first students and how that approach evolved as the cultural climate changed around you.
Okay.
Luke, close the door.
It started out with, like I said, you know, just dealing with family, my daughter, you know, loved ones initially. Things were just slow moving. It really wasn't moving that good. And then COVID happened, and then things just kind of changed. You know, you went from, we're going to arm ourselves with AR-15s and buy all these bullets and never train. And then when everyone became isolated at home and had nothing to do, whatever fear they had, now all of a sudden everybody's out shooting and training and doing stuff like that. So my first students came about when I observed a bunch of old people walking around open carry. So I asked them, you know, the questions about, hey, you know, because it is not against a lot of open carry in the state of Arizona. It really isn't. However, guns bring fear. They bring confusion. They also bring comfort, security, and, you know, a few other good things. But if people don't know you and you're open carrying, there's some confusion with that. So part of my mindset coaching is, do you have to open carry your gun? No. You know, so what I started teaching the students is to is be mindful of others, not so much of what you're doing. All right, nobody need to know you got a gun. You know, because number one, it makes you the hero and a target all in the same breath. You know, so my first approach was teaching students how to hit a bullseye, and then how to be humble about it. You know, and not be boastful about it, and also keep that concealed, just like you keep your firearms concealed. So that's part of the mindset is because once you align the training with the law and all that kind of stuff, you kind of need to hide your gun. You know what I mean? So that's what I did. I started looking for people who wanted to carry but really had no clue. You know, they just knew the law of Arizona. So that's when I got into the concealed carry classes and stuff like that, to kind of get people understanding what the law said about, hey, if you display this firearm, this is going to happen, or this is, you know, more cops get in trouble for stuff like that than society knows. So we talk about that, we train about that, you know, which means the more you know the law, the less likely you are going to show you're not going to brandish your firearm. You're just not going to do it, because you know you could go to jail for doing it, just showing it inappropriately. And I also know how society is a little broke right now. You know, so getting you to change your mindset from carrying and open, I got to teach you some, you know, encourage you to think like different. You know, yeah, you might be able to protect yourself, but can you really? You know, because youngsters, I've saw, not saying that, you know, it's the mindset, getting the shift away from the current law into the law of safety, and making sure that you're not just following man's law, but you're following God's law and all the laws that you got to follow. Because I mean, you can't just show your gun. You can't just shoot people.
Not like the movies, right?
Right. It's not. So you gotta. It's more about, you know, okay, I recognize an issue, and so my first students were just a bunch of people carrying guns at church, stuff like that, that really did not have a clue.
Nice.
The first thing I had to do was get them to conceal, because it was unsafe for them to carry it open. So
Awesome. Well, next question. As your business grew, how did you decide when to expand, hold steady, or pull back?
did you do 13? Tell me about a marketing decision you made that surprised you.
Yes.
Oh,
I think. Yeah, Luke.
We don't have enough water.
Okay, I'll fix the water in a moment.
okay.
I think. Oh, yeah. So, sorry, 13. Tell me about a market decision you made that surprised you, either because it worked far better than expected or fell flat.
The marketing decision was to get away from marksmanship and get into the mindset. You know, because mindset will get you doing things that are going to keep you healthy and proficient. You know, and doing all the things necessary that you should be, just like owning dogs. If you don't spend time with them, they're just dogs.
Yeah.
You know, but they're productive when you actually train them, teach them how to act in environments they're in, and it is no different with your firearms.
Oh, cool.
You've got to train your brain in order to remain proficient, so you don't have to shoot all the time.
Yeah.
So stuff like that.
Awesome. So, next question. As your business grew, how did you decide when to expand, hold steady, or pull back? What signals were you watching?
Well, that's where I'm at right now. I'm at the all that, when to expand, hold steady, because everything requires money. You know, except the things that you bring. You know, your tangibles. But the in order for it to grow, you've got to offer more things and stuff like that. That's why, like, over the summer, I'm doing different classes so that I can teach more classes. Stupid. You think just being in the military you should be enough. Move them to the front of the line. But it don't work that way. So if you really want to be lucrative in this business, you can't stay small minded. You have to expand. So I've been holding steady. That's the only reason you can maintain. You might not show any real growth, but that's holding steady so you can keep your business moving. But I've never seen it just thrive, and that's where I'm at right now, because I want to retire and do this and just dedicate more time to just this. You know what I mean? So, and what I'm looking for is, like, now is prime because everybody gets the conceal carry mindset now. They get it. They understand it. There are more guns in churches and stuff like that. It's scary.
Yeah.
But at the same time, no one's really teaching the maintenance. And in the maintenance, I mean, realistically, one person needs 8 to 16 hours of just basic stuff before they can actually be confident to walk around and not hurt themselves, not alone protect other people. So I'm just working on building that up and getting commitment. That's like with the security team and stuff like that. Forcing them to do things, and also forcing them to be realistic. Hey, you're not proficient enough to be running out here doing James Bond stuff. You know what I mean? So I think it's just finding the right time to get people, and it does require you to spend more time. And that's what it is.
Cool.
So,
well, next question. Paint me a picture of your relationship with the community around you. Who supported you? Who resisted you? And how did those relationships shape your choices?
Okay. Well, everyone around me wanted to learn how to shoot, but nobody wanted to pay me for my time. They didn't understand that it wasn't a hobby. That it was actually a business. And I allowed them to treat it like a hobby. So that created a different relationship, because as I started, hey, you really suck at shooting, you need more time. Hey, this is what it costs. Now all of a sudden you don't want to shoot that much. But the reality is that they're resisting the reality of their efforts. If they don't put in some time, they're just carrying guns. So in order, and I think I might even told you this, you got to trust me in order for me to train you. If you don't trust what I'm telling you, you just, it's just not gonna work. So my overall community is very supportive. I get a lot of help with people who want to push me into making sure that I keep moving with my business and stuff like that. I do have a pretty good, more that support than resist. So that's a good thing. And it's because of those relationships that I'm actually pursuing it on a different level. That I'm gonna actually, go invest more and more money take all those NRA classes to get where I need to get because they are supportive of what I do. I shoot a lot. So now they think I'm some type of, what do you call it? Dead eye. No, the reality is I've trained my brain to do the same thing behind and that's kind of what I'm doing. That's the whole business. It's not just physical, it's mental. You know, and the only difference I have is I understand what I'm doing, and you really don't. And once I teach you what you're doing, you know, then it's pretty easy. So,
Cool. Next question. Share a story about a client or a moment that reminded you of why you started this work in the first place.
I got one gentleman, elderly, 77 years old. Started shooting with him during COVID, and he never really paid me for any of these lessons. Now I think about it, but he paid attention every time. So he went from not getting it to understand it finally. So now he can go out and shoot, diagnose his own stuff. He's still lazy, you know, but it's seeing how he's progressed and can. Every now and then he'll challenge me and he'll beat me, and I don't really care, you know. But the fact is that his knowledge has increased to the point where he is proficient. Another gentleman in the church, you know, I've had a couple incidents where I had to train people who had traumatic experiences with firearms themselves. One young man, well, they both shot. One shot himself and survived. And when the parents asked me to train him, now that was weird. And when I trained him, you know, I mean, obviously, you know, the results, you know, and just seeing how good instructions. I mean, that kid could shoot. It was scary how good he could shoot, you know. And then the other gentleman, pretty much the same thing. And what they do is their word of mouth is, hey, if you really want to learn something, this guy knows what he's doing, you know. And I have my issues, I have my nuances, and that's my business.
Nice.
And that's what makes it successful, I think.
Nice. Next question. When you think about the long road to keeping this business alive, what kept you going through the lean or uncertain seasons?
What's keeping me going is I wasn't doing it. I wasn't doing it. It was more of a hobby in the beginning. Now it's more like, hey, this is my livelihood now. So that's where the difference is now. And that's where my drive is now. Now that I understand how ATF works, the FFL works, and the training works, and all these different entities, I get it, you know, and I think I would have definitely failed if I would just stay one faceted, you know, just sell guns. It may have grown, but I doubt it because I never really had the capital to just go out and buy a whole bunch of, you know. So understanding that the training is what sustains me, that's what I do.
Nice.
I train.
Nice. Next question. Looking back over everything you have built, what do you understand now about running this business that you simply could not have known at the beginning?
Kind of what I was just saying. Knowing that it's just not one-sided, you know. As I get my credentials where they need to be, now I can put all those years together and go train law enforcement, military if necessary, different groups, you know, church groups, security groups. It's really evolving into all kinds of stuff because I stuck with it. You know what I mean? It went from just being went from just being about marksmanship to a mindset and that encompasses so many things, man. Because you've got your distance, your rifles, you've got your concealed carry, you got home security, you got personal security, you got all different areas that you can dabble into, and you don't have to just stick with selling guns. Matter of fact, I just recommend guns to people. Hey, you'll be more proficient with. And it also takes away some of my stress of worrying about what they did with that gun. Being in the mindset business and safe handling, it helps me understand. I don't have to worry about that. You know, I know that you're educated legally and you're not going to do certain things, you know, so.
Nice. Well, the final question. If you could sit across from yourself on the very first day, what would you tell that person about the years ahead?
Interesting, because I never thought it would be a business. You know, what I would tell that person is to dive completely in. Just do it. Because just think if I just dove in and I would have had the gun shop and had everything that I wanted, you know, and then other things can grow from that. Instead of just finding my way, you know, into the training, it could have evolved a little quicker maybe just because, you know, so, and maybe the timing is everything too, as you had the Casa Grande gun shops and all these gun bucks, all these places that have been around for 20 and 30 years, that as they fizzled out, there went a mindset also. So new gun stores, like the tactical places and stuff like that, that's the mindset of the industry, I believe, is you're not just selling guns, you're helping people be complete in their two-way experience. You know, so.
Well, thank you so much for this interview, and if we have any follow-up questions, I'll definitely give you a call.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.